One criticism I find myself giving to almost every animated and even non-animated show is that the villains are poorly written. I know that it's nearly impossible to focus on developing every aspect of your show, and sometimes the critiques I have would be difficult to mend without affecting some other aspect of the show, but they're valid criticisms nonetheless. I think a very common issue people had with Ozai was that he was boring and had no substance. I get that people can be evil for no reason other than power, trust me.
Capitalism!
But I don't have an issue with these characters, more I have an issue with how they're portrayed. The details of what Ozai wants doesn't perfectly match up with what Orochimaru wants. We can boil our plans down to obtaining power. Yet I hate how Ozai is portrayed and love the way Orochimaru is. I think it's because the writers tried so hard to make Ozai this mega baddie with a treacherous manner of speech and terrifying aura, and yet he came out like this vanilla-ass yogurt. Like, dude, your 14-year-old daughter is carrying your terrifying empire on her shoulders. It's embarrassing. Orochimaru, on the other hand, isn't forced to fit an evil bill. Instead, he kind of just does what he wants and is like, no, it's okay, it's because I want to, which is way more realistic. This nonchalance is what makes his actual speech and dialogue so terrifying. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend Sasuke isn't cheesy, but I still have way more fun watching Orochimaru than Ozai. I think Viren is somewhere in between. He has moments where the writers were like, hey, look, he's evil, but they also make sure to include moments that demonstrate his humanity. And this is important. Humanity should not be conflated with relatability, explanation, or sympathy. When I say Viren demonstrates humanity, I mean that in the beginning you get a sense he did want to do what was best for the king, and you can tell he cares for his daughter. What I don't mean is that any of this makes up for how much of a flaming douche this guy is. He was ready to risk his best boy's son for a fucking egg.
And I'm forced to choose between saving the egg and saving Soren. What should I do? Dad, it's a joke.
The egg.
Essentially, I hate the notion that in order to be well written, we need to have sympathy for the villains. It's okay sometimes, but people start to treat every tragic backstory that excuses your path of evil like some sort of bad boy prereq. Humanity means human-like, and sometimes there are a lot of humans who are just big dicks. Since I'm contractually obligated to mention Shira in every video, why don't I try shitting on it for once? Once again, I love the show, but I do have some criticisms. Prime had goods and bads to how he was written as a villain, but my main issue was that there was zero chemistry between him and Adora as rivals. Part of the reason people liked watching Catra and Adora fight for 4 seasons is because rival relationships create more tense fights, more tense dialogue, more tense everything. Whenever Adora talked to Prime, I was just like, okay, and he had much cooler dialogue with Catra and Glimmer, and that's fine, maybe that was intended. It makes sense why there was no big showdown at the end and instead Adora just shot metaphorical rainbows down Amazon Prime's throat and yeeted off this plane of existence, but I couldn't find him as threatening because of this. I also think him only really being president in season 5 didn't help. Like I said, I don't have answers on how or whether this could have been remedied, but Prime didn't feel so threatening or personal as a character. I liked how he talked and how his mannerisms were more reflective of real villainy, but literally no villain in the show had "kick me" written on them quite like Shadow Weaver, and I think that was a feat. You know who's actually a super well-written villain? Lotso the Bear from Toy Story 3. I also appreciate that in a children's movie, they gave him a valid villain origin story and still didn't redeem him. This is a way underused take on villains that I want to see more of. They do it in one particular season of Infinity Train, If You Know, You Know, and a lot of people got upset and were like, well, he had his reasons. But the truth is that if you're lent a hand to do better time after time and you keep refusing it, you won't magically deserve redemption just because something bad happened to you.
Authority should derive from the consent of the governed, not from the threat of force.
Also, can we take a moment to talk about how raw the person who wrote the Disney Wiki was feeling? Like, who hurt you? You know who I love? Introductory villains. You know that they're going to lose, and later on you feel silly for even considering them a threat, but there's such a nostalgic feeling to them. Like, Zabuza will forever remain in my top-tier villain list. Like, Baby Zuko was a villain. Amity. Okay, maybe some are more antagonists than villains, but you get what I mean. Teen Titans did a cool thing with this, where they introduced Slade briefly, but through the Hive.
Who is Slade?
What I love about Teen Titans is that their villains belong in 2 categories. Like, silly magician, cranky Brit, how many villains does it take to screw a light bulb, family troubles, a hard stand, a brick, slime tutorial, robot brain. Then in the other category, we have someone with a deep understanding of how to unleash the darkest insecurities in an individual and toy with them like it's a game. I watched this show when it came out, so I was in kindergarten, and I can safely say that my introduction to Slade was terrifying. His voice actor does arguably the best job at voicing a villain I've ever witnessed.
I won't stop. Not now, not ever. I
I am the thing that keeps you up at night. The evil that haunts every dark corner of your mind.
And when I saw Slade in Young Justice, I was just so disappointed. Like, I get that everything in Teen Titans was essentially drawn on a fresh slate, cleaned from any comic book influence, but like, dude, that decision to separate the show from canon paid off. Also, like, I love Young Justice, but their villains were so one-dimensional. Usually their goal was to be evil, do crime, get power, and then they always twirled their mustaches. I think what it comes down to is composure and manipulation. Like, that's some real stuff. So when characters like Orochimaru, Viren, Lotso, and Slade do their villainy, it's way more believable and interesting than characters like Ozai who just try too hard to sound mustache twirly. I like when the hero-villain roles aren't exactly clear. Like, once again, I'm a lethargic bitch, and I'm not about to stimulate my brain by analyzing the last season of Infinity Train, but boy, were morals explored. Villainy came from unique places and was dealt with in new ways. So I'm going to base this completely off my distant childhood memories instead, because I'm too lazy to rewatch. But I felt betrayed when the villains in those old Scooby-Doo movies were people that we considered the gang's friends. Like, how is it that during every reveal, the villain was someone that they had previously trusted, and yet still, after every new movie, 5-year-old me was like, oh, whenever they, like, revealed that the villain was actually someone we trusted the whole time. Surprise. A more recent example of this would be Ironwood from RWBY. He was on their side for 7 whole seasons, and you get to know him as a character and you kind of enjoy him. And then he let paranoia and power get to his head and ended up shooting a child.
James. Who my friends call me. To you, it's General.
Damn. I need to start seeing more people I trust end up betraying me, because that shit hurts so good. Anyway, this is all baseless because some villains aren't well written because of their focus on their past or how they convey their goals through dialogue and action. Some are well written because they're memeable. Skeletor, Team Rocket, Plankton, Megamind, who is the most underrated movie villain of all time. I never watched Phineas and Ferb, but I do know that my favorite storyline would be this one way more than whatever else was going on. Anyway, villainy is cool and it's a great concept, but please stop acting like any sob story is a valid excuse for continued evil doing. Not cool, dudes. Also, let's all admit that the greatest villain of all time is Frodo for getting us to believe he was the rightful protagonist.